going on, everybody? Welcome back to the long form of the Unpolished podcast. Today's guest, my girl Ness, the Loch Ness Monster.
Right.
What's up?
What's up? How you doing?
You were a little nervous to come on. Are you still nervous?
I'm settling in. I think the ice bath got me pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh, yeah. We did our first form of the less polished, which is going to be like a quick social media video. We'll shoot that out on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. But that's we did do a little cold tub, and more of just a joke than anything. And then now we're in here. We'll say it was Steve's farm with the chickens.
Right. Yep.
But now we're doing the unpolished version, which is the long form, and we'll get more into nitty gritty. Anyway, how did you find TNT, by the way? That's how we met through TNT.
Correct. Yeah. Honestly, it's through the Rogers. Barb and Luke.
That's right.
Had mentioned it to my mom quite a few times. I was looking for, more of a structured for my summer training specifically when I was home. And
because you didn't really do any training when you were home.
I went to the gym, and I had the programs from my trainer at school, but I more so just did it on my own. And so I just wanted to get into being a little bit more disciplined with it as I was going into, junior, senior year, ramping it up to be able to finish my career strong in a way. And so that's when I kind of came to you, and I was like, I really liked the first session that we did. I liked your guys' outlook on it, how you guys trained us, and then definitely going back to school, that's when I felt the benefits too. And so that's why I came back.
Did you came back post-COVID?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, so I guess, maybe it wasn't my junior year. It was senior year and then going into my 5th year. So those 2 summers.
God, you just took forever to come join me.
It was a little bit.
Took forever.
Yep.
Okay. Where'd you grow up? Did you grow up around here?
Yep. Yeah. First childhood house was McCollum Lake, right? McCollum Lake Road, right in Wonder Lake. That's the house that my dad built when he was 21. We stood in there as long as we could, and then we kind of outgrew it, and then that's when my parents purchased the house over in Spring Grove.
Yeah, because how many brothers and sisters you got?
3 older siblings, 1 older sister, 2 older brothers.
You're the little one.
I am. I'm the baby.
Do you think the dynamic of the baby is like real? Like you're the little princess that gets away with everything?
If you ask my siblings, probably
I was going to say, what would your siblings say? And then what are you going to say?
Yeah, my siblings definitely would say yes. I think in some aspects, also, I will admit yes, just because, a little less strict, whatever else. But I also would applaud myself in a way of, like, I learned from them, from what they did, what they got in trouble from, everything like that.
Who got in the most trouble? Marcus.
Yeah, different types of troubles for all of them, honestly. My parents had quite the variety of kids. We're very similar, but very different in ways. And so, yeah, Marcus. Well, Stevie, though. Stevie was just... Obviously, I've only heard stories.
Talk all the shit you want, Stevie. Screw you, man. I met you once.
He'll appreciate it. But no, he pushed the boundaries for sure. Like, he was your typical first
oldest?
child.
He's the oldest?
He's the oldest, yeah.
Yeah, so he was testing the water for all the younger siblings.
Yeah. I think the rest of us were a little bit of a cakewalk because of that.
What was the capital punishment in the house? Did you get spanked? You probably never got touched because you're the little baby princess.
Yeah. No, my dad took care of the boys. For the girls and stuff, soap in the mouth. Spanked when we were younger by my mom a little bit, but nothing like crazy.
Wooden spoon? No, nothing?
No, my dad had gotten that because he went to a private Catholic school his whole life, and there were still nuns then. So
bring the rulers and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. When my dad talked about school, they would have like scheduled fights after school. Like when there was a beef, it was just like, hey, we're fighting after school. Teachers would come watch.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
wild.
dude. This was Rolling Meadows way back in the day.
Oh, I didn't realize it was over there.
Yeah. He grew up in Rolling Meadows, but he would talk about how like teachers would literally smack him with ruler.
Yeah.
Just smack him.
Dad had stories
like,
of the paddle.
Mm-hmm. Do that now. Can you imagine doing that now?
Oh, heck no.
Some of these kids need it.
Agreed.
Some of these kids need to get smacked.
Yeah. I would, yeah.
So you've been here your whole life?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What age did you start playing sports / specifically basketball? You've been playing sports your whole life?
Whole life, yeah. Especially being the youngest. My parents did a good job of having all my siblings sign a variety of sports growing up.
So it was like you guys need to sign up for sports type thing, or they just kind of threw you in?
Threw us in.
Made you try everything?
Kind of made us try majority of stuff. The only sport I never took part of, which you'll probably find surprising, is soccer. My mom did not want to be a soccer mom. She did not want to be outside.
I don't find that surprising at all. I don't see you liking soccer at all.
Well, I felt like I could have been good. I'm agile, fast, hand-eye coordination.
Yeah, but you're like almost too coordinated with your hands, where it's like you're not gonna.
My feet.
Yeah, I feel like no. What I'm saying is the people that tend to have more coordination with their hands, they don't necessarily go to soccer.
Yeah.
At least I don't know if that's true at all. I don't know if that's true at all. That's just like in my head. I feel like the people that I've seen play soccer, they just weren't that hand-eye coordinated, so they're just like, I want to play soccer.
Yeah. Other than that, it was, cheerleading, gymnastics, which cheerleading's out there because I was the ultimate tomboy. So, I'd be mudded up doing whatever with my brothers. I wanted to play football so bad.
So you did do cheerleading?
I did. I was extreme cheerleader, like competitive.
Oh, you did the competitive?
Yeah.
So you went to all those
major, competitions.
Were you, because you're tiny, you a flyer?
I was a flyer.
Yeah. Did you like it?
I did. Yeah, I actually did. It was
well, dude, that stuff's no joke.
No, it's physically challenging.
That cheerleading is no joke. When I've watched, because my wife's watched the shows where it's like the hardcore.
Yeah.
What's it called? Do you guys know? It's called something. But anyways,
yeah,
I've seen it, and it's just like, damn, like there's crazy injuries, there's like crazy stress, it's like
takes
perfection.
A toll on your, I would say the biggest thing is definitely the perfection of it.
You can't mess up at all. Like nothing could be off.
No.
So coordinating, what is that, like 40 people?
Especially when you have
to stay together, move together.
Yeah.
And you got one choreographer, one coach. It's like, geez.
Mm-hmm. Knowing all the rules, like you could get a tiny tick off of a point. You know what I mean? All that stuff. Yeah. So that was what I started with. Then went into softball, basketball, volleyball, track.
Are you good, Alex? I just feel like you're kind of messing with everything back there.
No, we're good.
Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. What? So where'd you go to junior high then?
Yeah, Montini. Catholic, right in McHenry.
Montini.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, where's Montini? Why don't I know where that is?
It's right across from, that apartment complex. As you're going towards downtown, like McHenry, you have like the little Y stoplight.
Yeah.
It's that church and then that old building right there.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the middle school, and then the elementary school is in the neighborhood directly across from it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's where my dad had gone with his siblings, and then all my siblings and I went.
So you grew up with religion?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I'm a cradle Catholic, is what you could call me.
Like
baby.
Being a baby born into it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's why you guys chose Marian?
Yep. That's why. My dad also went to Marian. So again, second generation, all of these schools. The combination of faith-based learning, but then also just, the uniforms, the core values they teach, the disciplinary of it all, with the rules and everything was a whole culmination of why my parents ultimately chose to send my siblings and I there.
So you never had an experience in like some sort of public school?
Not until college. Not until I went over to Miami,
right.
Ohio, since that was a public Ivy. Yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So was that kind of a culture shock for you then? You have because you have to wear the same thing every day for Marian.
Yep. Yeah,
you had to act a certain way.
Definitely was a little bit. I mean, I had introduction to different cultures and things when I really started travel ball, just with some of my teammates and meeting different people from different areas, and then meeting other teams and interacting at those tournaments and everything. But definitely was taken to a whole new level when I got to college. Yeah, it was.
Did you like it, or was it kind of like overload?
No, honestly, I enjoyed it. I felt like I was in a very good place, maturity-wise, mindset-wise, to experience. Like, I wanted to experience new things. I definitely have like an adventurous side to me, and I felt like I knew, what the small town living was, what this area was about, and it was kind of just time to see something new. So I enjoyed it. It was definitely in the beginning a shock, but then I just like enjoyed learning new things and meeting new people in a way.
I could see that.
Yeah.
So in high school, were you social butterfly, or were you? I could kind of see you going both ways. Like,
I was gonna say,
head down, like all I care about is basketball and like being really good at basketball. But I can also see you being really friendly and kind of floating around having. You and I are very similar. So I was kind of like sort of friends with everyone. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any like best friends, except for Kelsey. Yeah. Kelsey was like my best friend. So were you kind of like that, or?
Yeah, I'd say I'm a happy median of like social butterfly and then also keeping to my own when I know I need to get shit done type in a way. You know what I mean? And high school was, looking back on it now, was a really interesting time just because of a few family things that were going on in my personal life. Obviously, training to, play D1 and then balancing that social life of it and still trying to have, those high school experiences. It was definitely at times I really didn't find like my true friends probably until like sophomore, junior year because of just everything started happening with recruiting and everything, There's kind of like I don't know if you ever heard of it, ongoing like joke of like the sophomore switch up of friend groups or whatever. So I definitely kind of went through that of like
Sophomore switch up.
Yeah.
What is that?
Like it's like you hit sophomore year and it's
of
like you're finally of high school. You're like finally starting to figure out, a little bit,
yeah.
becoming a teenager really, and then kind of your friend group just kind of switches up a little bit, and that's kind of what I had experienced, and it was the friend group that I was coming into. It was really cool to now reflect on it because all of us, the girls majority, which I still talk to about 3 of them that I'm still very close with, very different, like kind of different activities that we took part of, extracurricular activities. So it wasn't like your normal group of girls who did everything together. It's like after school, I would go to basketball. 2 of them were trainers. Another one was only in volleyball. So it was a really cool dynamic to have, different interests, but then still be able to find those similarities to be friends.
So how did you guys become friends then?
Honestly,
if you guys are doing all these different stuff, how did you guys become friends? Like what was the common denominator?
Honestly, I don't really know. They remember stuff a lot better than me, even in terms of like high school memories and stuff. So I'll have to. They're who I'm going to London with. So I'll have to ask them that of like, guys, what was the first time you really hung out? Because I can't remember it off the top of my head. But.
So when did your love for basketball start? How'd you know you wanted to go? Like I'm going D1 basketball. Like when did that happen?
It's kind of a boring story for me. Like I wasn't a kid that was like dreamt of D1. I'm going to play basketball, nothing like that. Like I said, I kind of had a love for volleyball before I had a love for basketball. I just loved really any sports. I was always ball girl growing up for my siblings' teams since, I went to a Catholic middle school. Parents were coaches. They put a lot of time in, so I was always in the gym, taking part in that stuff. And then...
Do you think that was a
huge
contribution to your love for the game?
Yeah, I definitely. Yeah.
Are your siblings as competitive as you? Because you're a competitive little shit.
Stevie is. Yeah, Stevie and I are very similar in that way. Marcus is in very specific things, not necessarily sports, but in other aspects, he definitely is competitive. I'd say Gabby is a lot more easygoing than the rest of us. She's pretty chill, laid back, She did sports in high school, but then just continuing after, it wasn't really for her. And
so Stevie played sports. What Stevie play?
Yeah, he was a football player, wrestler for...
Oh, I could see wrestler.
Yeah, high school. I think those 2 sports.
What about Marcus?
Marcus was mainly basketball in high school.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming.
Marcus could have, if he wanted to, and it was like a passion of his, he could have been good. He just didn't have the passion for it, and so it was more of work than fun and play, so to say.
So, sorry if you answered this already, but when did you know you wanted to go D1 basketball?
It was kind of, I say fell in my lap. Not that I didn't put in a ton of hard work, but it was more so other people noticed that I had the potential before I really realized it within myself. So I was freshman year of high school playing at St. Viator because they were in our conference at the time when I was at Marian.
Well, Marian was like a lot bigger.
It was.
Yes. When you went there.
Yeah.
It shrunk a lot.
Yeah, and my class was one of like the biggest classes I graduated from there. I think we were like right under 200, I want to say, which is pretty good for that school. But there was an AAU coach essentially who was at St. Viator. He saw me play and invited me to try out for his program. This is where I'm very thankful for my parents because I would not have done it if it wasn't for them. Like, yeah, I think this story is going to surprise you, but they basically forced me to go try out. Like
for this AAU team.
Yeah, they put me in the car. I was being a dramatic teenager, like bawling my eyes out because I had like really, really bad anxiety, but at that time did not know it. Obviously they knew it, but I was a stubborn little shit, so they couldn't even say like or really sit me down and talk or anything like that. So it's really, really cool to look back on those years and like notice all of these things that obviously I didn't notice at the time. But I was, throwing, like, having a panic attack, bawling my eyes out, like, in the back of the car. Obviously, it's like a hour drive to get to this practice. Forced me to get out of the car. I go, obviously, perform great once I get settled in, make the highest national team. And then that's when I started travel basketball. So, right, the spring of my freshman year. And then that summer, I did my first college camp. It was Wisconsin, Madison. And at that camp, after the full day, the head coach and the point guard coach had pulled me to the middle of the court, and that's where I got my first offer. So it's like I wasn't, like, seeking it, really. It naturally just kind of happened, and then that's when it just really ramped up and spiraled into, being.
So did your love kind of for basketball kind of grow?
Yes,
then?
Definitely.
So you were kind of sort of avoiding it.
Yeah.
And it was just it was like something was telling you, like, I just got to keep playing basketball.
Yeah, I think it was, like, once I kind of got the initial taste of success in it, of, like, again, like, people seeing my potential, I kind of took a step back and was like, well, I do really enjoy the sport. I have fun. It fits really well with my personality in terms of, how feisty and stubborn I am. And then ever since that, it was history. And then that's when I fully threw myself into basketball and put volleyball aside. And a big portion of it also was actually
freshman year?
Yeah, freshman year. But a little bit before that, I did know that I loved basketball because Marcus, when he did play basketball, he went to a trainer, Steve Preston. And naturally, again, how I always tagged along, there was one workout where Marcus was getting dropped off. My mom was like, hey, can my younger daughter join, the session and try it out? So I went there, and I loved that. So he was my trainer for a very long time until he had moved away. And I think I want to say as I was probably right around the beginning of high school, I want to say, if I remember correctly.
So you started training basketball early.
I did, yeah.
But
it was still in culmination with all the other sports and everything that I was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So did the hard work aspect, like did the head down Nessa, did that come naturally, or was that kind of built into you by your parents? And
I think
because in our experience at TNT too, like some kids just love to work hard.
Yeah.
And some kids learn to work hard.
Correct.
Where did you fall in that?
I think it was a natural thing because it's all I've ever known, seeing the examples that I have in my life. So it's like I learned it obviously at one point, but I don't have a key moment of
just second nature.
It was just second nature because
I've seen Marcus do this. I've seen Stevie do this.
Yes,
my dad works hard. My mom works hard.
Yep. Yeah,
that makes sense.
I've had great role models in my life to be able to see, their work pay off and then be able to know, like, well, if I can do the same thing for myself, what can I make of it? You know what I mean? Right.
So I want to go back a little bit. You had kind of touched on it where you had, some family stuff going on in high school. Specifically, I'm assuming we're referring to your dad getting...
Yep. Yeah.
So you want to talk about that a little bit and how that came up?
Yeah. So it was... I want to say my 8th grade, when I was in 8th grade, is when he was first diagnosed. Vividly remember, he...
With ALS.
With ALS,
for the people that
correct.
don't know.
Yes, with ALS. It took about a year to actually, be fully diagnosed for him. So I just remember he was going to lots of doctor's appointments, mom and dad having a lot of conversations behind closed doors. Seemed like heavy stuff, but I was still young, so I didn't fully understand it. And then, one evening they had sat us down and told us. And then even then it was like, I didn't know what it was. I had never heard of the disease.
To your best knowledge, can you explain what ALS is?
Yeah. So essentially it's a neurodegenerative disease that attacks your nervous system. And in very simple terms, it's going to eat away at all your muscles, essentially. So it kind of, there's no set pattern of how it will affect people, but eventually, can't use your arms, your hands, because you have throat muscles to speak, you'll lose your ability to speak, walking, obviously, slowly, that will go and be wheelchair or scooter bound, whichever, you prefer. Even in terms of breathing, I don't think people realize, your diaphragm is what helps your lungs, and your diaphragm is a muscle. So that goes too. So it's slowly, and you're just diminish. It's a really, really hard disease, to battle and to see, because it's just all you can do is slow it down. And that was the thing that I remember is then the only thing I understood when my parents first told us about my dad was that, like, there's no cure. I'm like, what do you mean there's no cure? You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing we can do. And then it's just also one of those things where they unfortunately give you a timeline. You know what I mean? And so they gave him 3 to 5 years. And he ended up being 6 years diagnosed. And then, like I said, the process of diagnosing him was about a year. So then we say 7 years undiagnosed.
So it's more than expected.
Yeah. Yep. More than expected. I mean, my mom was his full-time caretaker. That was a whole nother aspect of, you know, hard work and discipline that I got to see it as an example in my life, was just everything that went into, first off, his choice of choosing to live every day. Still, he worked the company, he answered phone calls the best of his ability all the way until the end, so still choosing to live. But then their daily life obviously had changed significantly, both individually and together.
And constantly changing too.
And that was another big thing. It wasn't like it was like one change and that was it. You know, we would always kind of joke around together as a family of like, we're just, you know, transitioning into a new stage of life. And it was probably every year or so is when something significant had gone for him, whether it was walking, whether it was breathing, whether it is his ability to talk, which I still like very vividly remember was my freshman year of college, which obviously was my first time away from home. And being away from my family, especially with what was going on, it's an exciting time too, though, because, you know, I'm starting to live my dream a little bit. I'm at college training, meeting my teammates, you know, supposedly my new family. And I was giving him a call to just update him on what was going on. And no one answered. Like, he answered the phone, but like there was no other voice. So then immediately I'm like, what's going on? You know what I mean? And then that was how I found out that he couldn't talk anymore.
Yeah. That's rough.
Yeah. Yeah, it was hard. And then it was also hard then coming home. And because he could like murmur and mumble a little bit, but it was kind of like another language, if that would make sense. So like that was when like a whole new wave of guilt had kind of come on, because it was already hard coming home. Obviously, I love coming home. I want to see my family. Always was excited. But it always kind of came with a certain amount of anxiety and a lot of emotions, because it was just, again, what is the state going to be? What's the dynamic going to be of everyone? And that's where I applaud my mom and Marcus specifically, because they were the two that were home at that time. And they were like almost translators in a way, because, especially my mom, because she was with him every day, interacting with him. She could kind of pick up on, you know, it's like when you learn how your kid's talking, you know, you understand what he's saying. And other people are like, what the hell did your kid just say? How do you understand that? Yeah. That's kind of where it got to with him. And since I wasn't around it every day when I was away at college, it was hard, because all I wanted to do was, you know, communicate and have a conversation, catch up, but I couldn't understand him at times, you know.
Was it tough to stay at school?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was very tough, especially since my career was very up and down, you know. It was a long 5 years, but also quick at the same time, because definitely went through basketball as a whole nother thing of like trials and tribulations within that. And so it's like just the thought of like, well, shit, if this isn't going my way, why am I putting in time here when I'm actually needed somewhere else? You know what I mean? Not just because I want to be there, but because I'm needed somewhere else. And so that was a huge battle within myself. But also it's, you know, my dad would have never, ever wanted me to come home. That would have crushed him if I did. And so that was just like a constant reminder I had to keep telling myself that if this is something I genuinely want to do and it's still a dream of mine, I have to seek it out. Yeah, I have to finish it. And so that's what I did.
Man, I'm so sorry you had to go through all that.
It's it definitely was a character builder. I'll say that much. I would not be the person I was in any shape or form if that did not happen. It definitely changed my outlook on life a ton. It made me grow up. I've always been mature for my age, but it made me grow up a lot faster than, you know, a lot of other people at my age. I think that's why also some of my friendships just did not last, because I couldn't communicate it at the time, but there was just other stuff going on that it was just like, and I don't blame other people either. It's not like they need to understand what's going on, but
Yeah, it changes you. It sits in the back of your head. It completely messes with your personality when
correct.
you're going through something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's deep stuff. Like, it also matures you
Oh, yeah.
very quickly. Mm-hmm. And when something like that happens to you and you mature quickly, you realize how immature a lot of your friends are.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big one for me. I realized how immature the people around me were.
Yeah, and it's hard to have patience with that. That's
I never really had any. I just kind of pieced out. I just
Yeah.
disappeared into the dark. But I don't mean to make you relive this, but do you remember the last conversation you had with your dad before he lost his voice? I think about like the last time I was able to talk to my dad because I didn't know. We're similar. Like we had our last conversation. We didn't know we had our last conversation.
Yeah.
And mine sucked.
Yeah.
Mine was like, leave me alone. I'm on vacation.
Yeah, because you didn't realize it. Yeah.
He was also he obviously wanted me to be. It's similar.
Yeah.
He's like, go have fun. Don't talk to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you remember yours at all?
Honestly, not in terms of when he had his full voice. In terms of the other stuff, like, again, like, he was able to murmur, and it was very, like, obviously it was me doing a lot of the talking, which it's a good thing I'm a good talker, so I can hold the end of the conversation. But no, not a vivid, I think it's just because, like, now that's years later, that core memory of him, that the reaction on the phone is kind of taken over from another like conversation I would have had in that time before I really knew he had lost his voice, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just because it was just like such a core moment throughout the process of ALS and him specifically.
Did you have any friends that were big supports for you? Or were you just kind of on your own?
No, I did. Again, high school was interesting because that's definitely where my stubbornness came into play. I felt like I had to handle it by myself, even though I had support systems. So my friends at the time, it's not like they weren't there for me. I didn't necessarily allow them to be there for me. Obviously, my family in itself, probably more so in college, though, when everything was happening. I go to my junior year after he had passed. So he passed my spring of sophomore year, and then that whole transition through the summer, and then that's when COVID had hit too, but we still had a season, luckily. We got very lucky at Miami that I don't even think we really had any games canceled. I think we basically had a full season, which was kind of crazy to hear about, which we'll get into that. But
yeah, isn't that funny? COVID was worse in certain states.
Yeah. But my roommates, my junior year, they were both seniors at the time. It was kind of just, I was in a very obviously dark and sad place of like not necessarily being ready to go back to school, but having to go back for summer workouts. And, I thought I had a good support system in terms of some like coaching staff and team. And then it necessarily wasn't the best. And it was just kind of a toxic environment that in the whole, all of it put together, those two, it's like, I finally like got to a breaking point where I couldn't hold my shit together because it was, I had to choose of, do I hold it together on the court and still perform? Or do I hold it together because, I'm scared to be vulnerable with my friends in our own house? And I had to pick my moments. And at the time I was, trying to earn more playing time and everything. So I really sucked it up on the court, and that took a lot out of me. It took a lot out. And so when I would get home, I didn't have a face to put on. So they saw me in some pretty raw moments. And so I'll always be thankful for them because they were really there for me. And they know that. They know that for sure. And that will always be like the basis on my end of like why they'll be lifelong friends for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad you had that.
Yeah, me too. Because if I didn't, I'd be a different person probably in not so good ways. So,
Good.
Yeah.
Because you're a pretty cool person.
Appreciate it.
I keep telling you, we would be best friends in high school.
I believe it.
We'd be stuck at the hip, dude.
I know. I believe it.
Dude, you cracked me up, man. First time you said booty butt, I lost it. You're like, that's booty butt. I was like, what did you just say?
But it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
So going back to your college career, you had you said you were fighting for a spot.
Yeah. So
what? How was your career at Miami?
yeah. So I had committed. So I don't think people realize it happens so much, but I mean, any D1 sport, and obviously I can only speak on college basketball because that's my experience. It's a freaking business. Mm-hmm. It's a business, and you know, I like to say there's a lot more genuine people out there than there is in terms of coaching, in terms of people in powers of position. Positions of power. But I think that's one of the major flaws of it. Is the more money that's going into college athletics right now and everything like that is, you know, at the end of the day, we're still teenagers becoming young adults. We're not, you know, we're still figuring out who we are. We do still need that support. It's first time away from home for a lot of people, all of that. And so going into that, I had got an offer from a coaching staff that was there. They got let go. A new coaching staff came in. She upheld my scholarship. So then my freshman year, that was my coaching staff. I had committed behind a point guard who was, you know, a record-breaking point guard, which I was okay with because I felt like I still needed time to develop going to that next stage, both physically and mentally. And then also I had chosen a school where I thought I could really make a difference. Like I had bigger offers. I probably wouldn't have played at those schools realistically now looking back on it, which I kind of knew that then. And so that's why I chose not to go there because I valued more with making a difference at a school that I thought I could. Mm-hmm. And then after I didn't really play my freshman year. Definitely was a bench player. And then the head coach had taken a job elsewhere. Her contract got bought out, and a new coaching staff came in. So this is going into my sophomore year. I'm still behind the point guard, who's there. She's a senior. So really I played, but it was scrap minutes behind her whenever she needed a sub, whatever else. And then so then sophomore year through senior year, same coaching staff. Junior year, super excited about, but then also was very hard because that was when my dad had passed away. So it was kind of like that mixture of like, it's my moment. You know, I've put in 2 years. I've done the work.
It's my turn.
It's my turn, in a way. Yeah. And then it was like that mindset. And then it was also, you know, just having those moments of natural grief and going through that process. And so then ultimately, we had a shortened summer because of COVID. Went into our first game. It was versus Notre Dame. It was my second career start. I had a pretty good game. Like, I felt pretty good. I mean, it took me a few minutes to settle in. But overall, I was very happy with how I performed, and I specifically remember my coach came up to me, and she was happy with how I performed. So then we were on, like, a road travel. So then our next game was Ohio State. And again, these are, like, two ranked teams that we're opening up with.
Did you guys beat Notre Dame?
No, we didn't. I think it was, like, maybe, like, a 15 to 20-point game.
Okay.
I mean, we held our own, but, yeah, no, we did not win. And then going into Ohio State, I think it was like the practice before, 2 days before or something, messed up my ankle. I landed on my post player, went up and jumped, landed on her foot and ankle. My ankle just like snapped, went down to the ground. And I just remember like it's just like a core memory of mine because I'm like, damn, like this is just not what I needed right now. You know what I mean? Especially after feeling excited after that first game.
What was the diagnosis? Just sprained?
Yeah, like super bad high ankle sprain, like tore a few things. If it wasn't for my tape job, my trainer said like I probably would have just snapped my ankle completely. I mean, you see these things, they're not really beefy.
Little sticks.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was like a minimum 6 weeks out or so, which is a huge chunk of our season. And then it was kind of just hard because obviously I wanted to get back to it. Get back as fast as I could, which is always a very interesting balance to find of like what your body can handle, where you're actually at. I ended up coming back for this, second half of the season. Got a few starts, didn't get a few starts. I was playing, but it was very inconsistent, which kind of just messed me up mentally even more. Just because when I was injured, it was like, we need you back. We want you on the floor. And then it was like, here, I'm ready. I've tried to get back. And, you're not necessarily using me. I don't know where I'm supposed to be at right now. Like, I kind of lost what my role was supposed to be at, too. So after my junior year, I felt like, shit, I was very close to quitting. Like, why am I doing this?
Well, it's tough.
Yeah, it was very tough.
Dedicating all that time to it, and
yeah,
you feel like you're not getting the return that you are investing in.
Yeah, definitely. And let me also say, like, I think what I learned in college and what definitely was a major shift, which it is for a lot of people, is like, obviously you're an all-star in high school. You know what I mean? I didn't go into college being like, oh, I'm going to be this like all-star player, but I definitely wasn't, I knew I wasn't the best player out there. Obviously not the biggest, probably one of the smallest. You know what I mean?
If not the smallest.
If not the smallest. No, I played a couple of girls that were shorter than me. And so with that, it's like I took a ton of pride in, and this is where I earned like the respect of my teammates, is that I was a great teammate. Like I took a lot of pride in and it was very natural to me, We've worked out a couple of times, and so imagine us and how we cheer each other on and push each other, that times, 20. Mm-hmm. That's how I was, of like just always having my teammates back, bringing some of that energy and the intensity and everything like that. And so that's really where I thought I earned my spot in certain ways. It wasn't necessarily, I was the flashiest or scoring a bunch of points or anything like that, which was a huge shift from high school, because in high school I had to do everything. You know what I mean? I was a huge part of the team. If I wasn't doing that, we were not winning. You know what I mean? So then going into my senior year, so the interesting dynamic was I almost quit completely after junior year. I was going to finish school at home because of just where I was. I was just not happy in any aspect of it. And since everything went online because of COVID, I was like, yeah, I can just finish my degree at home, be comfortable, which is, I think that's what I was seeking, because it was just a year of being very, very uncomfortable, with a lot of things being out of my control. Mm-hmm. I think was a huge aspect of it. And I ended up deciding, I'm like, heard my dad's voice of like, you're not a fucking quitter. You put in 3 years already. I had decided at that time I wasn't going to probably take my 5th year, so I was like, my senior year is my senior year. Like, finish it through. And that's what I did. I went into my senior year with the mindset of, I'm going to control what I can control. Coaches are going to make certain decisions. Some politics going around with it too. Whatever else. Kind of knew where my relationships were at too, with my coaches in that regard. And I was just like, I'm going to do me. And that's what I did. Continued my relationships with my teammates. I had a good senior year, in terms of what I did on the floor and how I thought I performed. And then fast forward to it being 2 weeks after, like a week and a half, 2 weeks after my senior year. I'm done. Thought I was, retired, throwing up the shoes, and I get a call from a previous assistant coach at Miami of Ohio. She had gotten an opportunity to be a head coach out in Buffalo, New York, at a school called Canisius. It was Canisius College at the time, but it's a university actually now. And she essentially offered me my 5th year, which I did not see coming at all. I had no idea that she was watching me, that she had her current coaching staff watching me, and that she was, saw me fitting in where she was at. And it was funny because she was an assistant coach to me, but she was a post coach at Miami and defensive coach. And so, like, really the only interactions we had on the court was when she would coach me through defense. Mm. And then just because of the type of people we are, we obviously had our own connections and conversations off the court. And that's how we really got to know each other. But yeah, I describe that as like, it was just a prayer I didn't even know I needed answered. Like, I truly think it was, because it was, I think, if I really just try to hone in on one thing that my 5th year gave me, that just I realized I lacked and I didn't have since really high school was just how big of a difference it makes when a coach believes in you. Like, it wasn't about the playing, like, when she had offered me it and, you know, we talked X's and O's, obviously, and whatever else, but, like, nothing came up of, like, starting, playing time, nothing like that. It was just strictly, like, it just felt, honestly, it felt great to have a coach want to talk X's and O's with me again, because I have a great IQ with basketball, you know what I mean? That was always something that kind of made me stand out in my recruitment process, so I just understood the game. And so it was, yeah, that was just amazing, and that's something that I will forever be in debt to her about.
Sorry, go ahead, finish.
No, that's it. It's just that, yeah, I will forever, like, my heart just explodes when I think of this woman. Coach Sahar, obviously, she knows who she is.
Yeah, the difference of really caring, like, you can feel when a coach really cares about you.
Yeah.
And you want to die for them.
Die.
Like, I will jump through a brick wall. You want me to run through his wall? I'll run through his wall.
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference between someone who, like, you feel really cares about you and someone who's just like, you're just a body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that was what was really, really interesting part of my journey is that, you know, I had to push aside my pride a lot throughout my 4 years at Miami to be what I thought the coaches wanted me to be what I thought my team needed me to be, since I took so much pride in trying to be a good teammate, and I, you know, knew I could handle being a role player in that way.
Right.
And then going to my 5th year, and again, it just being, I guess, appreciated in a way of, like, just putting in that hard work for them and being a student of the game again, and I'm wanting to learn again. Like, that's all I think I really craved, was just to be coached, and I didn't really get that consistently until my
hearing you
5th
talk
year.
about it, I feel like that's something that I really crave too.
Yeah, like, I love to be coached. Give me the criticism, give me that, and, like, and the reason it's, like, with that, it's, and what sets Coach Sahar and her coaching staff aside and my own journey is that, like, I fully trusted them because we had put the work in with our relationship. So, like, there was never a doubt in my mind of, like, how she said something to me, the tone of it, you know, all that stuff where, like, people take stuff so fucking personally now. No, she's trying to make me better, and there was never a doubt in it. And so that's where I think it was just so raw and natural for me to be, like, honestly, where I refound my love for the game, because it had been lost, and it was very, you know, it fluctuated up and down a ton. Was that just to have someone, again, it sounds dumb, but believe in you. I hadn't gotten that really, obviously my family did, but I think that was a huge part when my dad had passed away, was he was always someone that, I mean, he believed in me way more than I believed in myself. I have no problem admitting that. It's been a long journey with my self-confidence, to say the least. And I know that probably surprises a lot of people, because for the longest time I've come off as a confident person, but now it's like I do have a true sense of self-confidence because I know the work I've put in, you know. I'm not just going to say I'm different without doing things in a different way, but I do that. So
maturing more and more every day. I'm going to pause this real quick because my bladder's about to explode.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. We're good. Okay, cool. We're back. Sorry about that.
Pee break.
Ness took pee break too. So as we're talking, I remember.
Oh gosh.
I remember you telling me about something with a relationship, a player, and a coach.
Yes.
Can we talk about this?
We can skim on it a little bit.
Oh, come on,
skim
man.
on it a little bit. Yeah, that was.
I mean, all we're doing is talking about what had actually happened, and I don't remember. All I remember you telling me, you're like, "Oh, that makes sense." And there was some sort of relationship between a player and a coach.
Yeah. Yeah. So that it officially came out during my 5th year. So I wasn't at the school anymore. When it was released, it was last spring, so to say. So obviously I still have a lot of teammates that I'm close with on the team. So I knew the process. Like, I knew it was coming out before it actually was released on the news outlets.
I remember you told me. Yeah. Yeah. We were in the gym, and you're like, some news about to drop, Steve.
Boy.
So what was the news?
Yes. The news was that my head coach at the time was one of my teammates. And it was just I guess I didn't realize how many emotions I would have about it in terms of just looking back on my time there.
Well, definitely makes you ask questions about
100% ask
playing
questions.
time and like what was the relationship like when I was there.
Yeah, naturally with all of that stuff and all of that went through my mind of just like
all valid.
Yeah. Yeah. And
because this coach is how old?
Late 30s, I want to say.
So late 30s coach with a 21-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a girl coach.
Yeah. Yeah. We had all my 3 years, sophomore through senior year was all girls, was all women staff.
So like, what was your reaction and what were your teammates' reactions? Like you guys probably texting each other, calling each other like, yo, did you see this?
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously, you know, we were together every single day. You notice certain things and you...
what'd you notice? You came on to the podcast because you knew Steve was going to dig. What did you notice?
It's just, it's some of the favoritisms and some things that just didn't necessarily make sense, you know? And then my relationship with the teammate, we were very close and kind of just initially clicked. And then, you know, as time had gone on and you know, going naturally from sophomore, junior to senior year and things like that, you just see natural changes. And I mean, we're both changing. Obviously, we're both growing up. And then, yeah, you notice certain things. And from my perspective, it was just hard in terms of some decisions just didn't necessarily make sense. And it was hard because, I mean, the teammate, she was a hard worker. Like, it's not like she wasn't someone that, like, it wasn't like things weren't given to her in certain ways.
Yeah.
So I'll never take that away from her. And she had raw talent. But then it was more so in terms of how much of an effect it had on the culture that was being built, and the camaraderie with that of, it all goes down to trust. You know what I mean? And it was almost like, again, we don't have a lot of control. I don't think people realize, like, we do, but we don't. So I don't want to put that, like, I always think, like, you have control of your attitude, how hard you work, everything like that. Like, you have control of what you put in. But when you're in the grand scheme of things, especially on, like, a D1 program, there are just decisions where it's like, you can do all you can do, and at the end of the day, you're not the person making those decisions. You know what I mean? It's just that natural power dynamic. Mm-hmm. And so with that, it was some favoritism. That's as easy as, and again, this is just my perspective on it. Just favoritism that was...
was it other teammates' perspective on it too?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, of just...
I mean, how could there not
viewpoints just being skewed and, you know...
When you learn about a full-on relationship between a coach and a player, you can't help but think there was some favoritism. Yeah.
Yeah. Which was hard because, again, like... It was a lot. It was a lot. I have done work to, because again, like I said, initially I had a lot of thoughts on it. I got pissed for some decisions that I think it probably affected. And again, I totally am acknowledging it's my viewpoint, but.
So you think it affected your playing time?
At times. I'm never going to put the blame on other people. Fully, like, there, because again, I fully admit there was times of, like, I checked out when I was going through my ups and downs. Mm-hmm. You know, I wasn't in the gym probably as much as I should have, things like that. But at other times,
should have just dated the coach. Yeah. Come on, I had to drop the joke one time. Yeah, you should have just kissed her on the cheek or something.
Wouldn't that be something? I'm okay on that one. Yeah, and I think it's honestly what really pissed me off about it was just how much it dimmed the program. I mean, we had a rough record, you know.
The fact that your coach dates your player does not help the reputation of the school.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's like sort of a Sandusky situation where now you're recouping from that spotlight being held in a negative way and
takes away from everything, all aspects of the program, of playing, you know, basketball at Division I, everything like that. Like I have a lot of pride in saying, you know, I played 4 years at Miami of Ohio. Because I truly liked when I had committed there, you know, what the culture was, what we were building, the school itself, everything like that. And then throughout my time there, meeting the alumni, them seeing, like, having pride in the program still. And so I got to, like, be able to see myself in the future of, like, this is what it could be, like, me coming back. And for that time, for, like, probably, yeah, that time, it was just really hard to have that program be in the spotlight in a not positive way.
So how did this come out? What was leaked? Who leaked what?
So I don't know the specifics of, like...
You lying.
Who leaked
you
what.
Lying.
I don't
You
know.
lying.
No, I don't.
Come on.
I don't. Because it still doesn't make sense to me because in the articles there was, like, some text messages and stuff. And I'm like, unless it was on unless it was on a college phone, like a business phone for them, which I don't know if they even do that, how would they have gotten... That is, like, honest truth. I don't know how they got that.
That's interesting. We'll have to do some digging
because it's still a question mark to me.
Can you got your laptop with you?
No.
Dang it.
But
right.
that was, like, the most, in terms of in the public viewpoint, that was the most concrete evidence there was I think, to my knowledge, those text messages.
So what will we type in right now? If we want to search this, what do you type in?
Probably the coach's name.
What's the name?
You're
Come on, Ned. Well, someone's gonna look it up.
You can look up Deanna Hendricks.
She's whispering.
D-E-U-A. Oh, hold on.
What is it?
D-E-U-N-N-A. I want to say. I think that's how you spell it. And then
There, it pops right up.
Yeah. Yep. There you go.
Miami's women's basketball coach resigned amid investigation into amorous relationship and investigation into reports with student athlete led to resignation of Miami University women's basketball coach Deanna Hendricks. The college reported. What's this girl look like? Let me see her. Go to images. Oh, I guess that works too. That's not what I thought she was gonna look like.
Yeah.
I just pictured. I guess I don't know. I don't know what I pictured. I guess.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll do more digging later.
Yeah.
Wait,
let me know what you find.
Does it have pictures of the texts? Let me see a text.
I know they were in the art. I'm pretty sure they was in the articles.
Engaged in inappropriate romantic relationship with player. The cover up. In light of impending termination, Hendricks closer resigned, but her resignation was contingent on the university not commenting on why her employment ended. Yeah, okay. Good luck not commenting on this story. Dang, come on, give me a text. There's no text?
Yeah, I want to say, I'm trying to think of.
Oh, there they are.
Yeah.
In them, Hendricks wrote, "I love you. You're my baby." Told the player, "I can't wait to squeeze you." In all, more than 30 of the messages were of an intimate nature.
So obviously that was like the ground. That was the groundbreaking. Was like when these news articles came out.
Wow! I look forward to the next phase. She thanked the administration. I look forward to the next phase of my career. Okay. All right. Cool. We don't need to dig anymore, I guess.
Let me know what you find after.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, you can't help but think that totally affected.
Naturally, yes. And again, like, I don't want to put blame elsewhere in terms of my own journey and everything like that, but it is hard to think at times that it didn't affect it. And that's me saying, like, I'm not saying...
Well, it's almost impossible to think that it didn't affect it.
And again, I'm not saying I would have been the all-star or anything like that.
It doesn't help that that was the
for.
Girl that you were fighting for time with.
In some aspects. It's like, we shouldn't necessarily have been fighting for time because she wasn't a point guard. But
you were.
They didn't think I was the point guard for the team. And that's what it was. And so ultimately, because actually my senior year, I played more 2 than 1. And that was the first time I had ever done that in my life. So.
Yeah, and so you go to the new school.
Yes, yeah.
And overall experience there?
It was good. Overall experience was good. I say that with a little bit of hesitation because honestly, it was a hard year. I'm not gonna shy away from that. It was coach's second year there as a head coach. Definitely a program to rebuild. She came into, some tough situations her first year. I think the hardest part about it was a super young team. It was.
Oh, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. I was, as a grad transfer, 23.
You're the old granny.
I was. Yeah, they nicknamed me that. At first I didn't really like it.
Oh, they actually nicknamed you granny.
Some of them did. Yep.
Those bastards.
I know. Exactly. Those youngins. But yeah, I think that was the hardest dynamic to get over in terms of they just, you have your natural freshmen who are just learning D1 athlete, D1 college experience and being a student athlete. So that's a natural transition. But then even some of my other teammates, the closest one to me in age was a 20-year-old. And I know 3 years in the real world is nothing, but in those, 4 or 5 years of college, the maturity level, the experience, just the understanding of it, it makes a big difference.
Well, I would guess the work ethic is a big.
That too, yeah.
When you're young, it takes you seeing the older people. Mm-hmm. Like I remember the dudes that I would see work out in the weight room, and they were the older guys, and they were pushing like serious weight.
You're like, oh shit!
And those deeply affected.
Yes.
My work ethic in the weight room.
Yeah.
Deeply affected. I remember, I don't remember his name, but I could picture him. Big black dude. Repping 130s on incline bench. Looking back, he was probably on something. But I was a little freshman, 220 pounds at Baylor. And I remember watching this dude just rep it. I'm just like,
damn.
That's going to be me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, great.
That image still sits in my brain.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was honestly a huge part of Sahar bringing me to Canisius was obviously what I would do on the court, but was kind of the intangibles that I have within myself of work ethic, value, like core values that I have, kind of how I was brought up and whatever else. I'm a genuine good person, and it was something that she needed to be able to propel that her program to what it would be because, year 2 and 3 are pretty pivotal years in terms of a head coach's new journey at a school, so to say. And so it was more so some of that stuff and being able to hopefully, make an impact on the younger kids in that way of just seeing, this is what
taking that granny role.
Yep, you can become, if that makes sense, on and off the court because she takes a lot of pride in, she just cares. She has a big heart. She cares for who you are. Not just, as a basketball player, but she truly takes the responsibility of forming young women and getting us ready to go into life, so after.
Things are kind of full circle now,
definitely.
Right? Because you are at Marian Central again.
Yep. Yeah.
And are you going to be coaching?
That's a lot of people have been asking me that. I got asked by
I could see it in you. I could see you. Future Deanna Hendricks.
Shut up. Not see that one coming.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, coaching I would make a great coach in terms of how I even would interact with my teammates. Again, my understanding of the game, truly wanting to make people better. I think that I do that naturally in my friendships and my relationships with my family. All relationships that I have, I'm definitely someone who I think pushes other people. And so I would love to be able to have that impact. I think right now, because I had just started up some basketball training, I am sticking with that. And then coaching may be in the future, may not. It's definitely still something in the back of my head of like even something potentially I would go back and do at the college level. If I could get the opportunity. I think I didn't initially go right into college athletics in terms of the employment side. And rather than being a student athlete, it's just I wanted a big break from that schedule. I had missed enough holidays. I had been away from home long enough, and I knew there were still some things that I had to process on the grief side that I definitely had thrown under the rug in terms of my dad, just so that I could be, meet subpar level of be okay to be able to perform and go back to school. And so that's ultimately why I didn't hop into coaching right away. But it's definitely a curiosity of mine still of if I would end up there or not.
Do you feel as though you've grieved properly now? You've grieved properly now?
Yes and no. I think going through a grieving process as I have, there's no like right or wrong way to do it. I think like there's
That's
a
a good
lot of
point.
like yeah, it really is suited to you and your life and what the hell you have going on. I think I've done a lot of work of becoming self aware of where I'm at. And I used to run from my emotions a ton. You know, I was very set on being and always making sure that people saw that I was tough. You know,
I could see that.
yeah, like I wouldn't let people see that side
I
of
know,
me.
bitch.
No,
Yeah.
mama ain't raised no bitch.
Yeah, I
And
could
so,
see that.
um, and then ultimately it was definitely throughout college and a little bit of my journey with anxiety, which is a whole another aspect thrown into my story that I really did take the outlook of like being vulnerable takes 10 times more courage than you know being the tough girl, the tough guy, and throwing it all underneath, and then all of a sudden you have a blow up, and that's good for no one, and all the domino effects of that. And so I think I'm definitely a lot more open in talking about any of this stuff. Like I couldn't have done this a couple of years ago. Hell no. I even in terms of the sad parts of it, the happy parts, giving myself credit, being able to say I'm proud of myself, none of this was happening a couple of years ago. And so I think in terms of grief, it's a continual thing. I think I kind of recently have taken an outlook of like how people say it gets easier. You know, I just recently had my dad's anniversary, 4 years, you know, about a week ago, not even a week ago. Yeah, about a week ago actually. And it was just hard. It's still just as hard. And I think it's also where I'm at in my life of like, there's been a lot of things happen, you know, graduating with my bachelor's, graduating with my bachelor's and master's, finishing basketball, which obviously is something that I was super proud of because I didn't think I was, you know, at the time I didn't think I was going to be finishing my career. And especially to get the opportunity to finish it on my own terms because of what Sahar and her coaching staff and that team offered me. I think he'd be ecstatic at where I'm at, and then especially to hear me now be at Marian, which I definitely did not think was going to be in my journey. But it's just how the cards were dealt right now. It's a great opportunity for me to pass up because he had a lot of pride in that school too. So I think it's like seeking and still finding ways to fit him into my life in my own way, and something that I'm creating on my own now, apart from my family almost and apart from those relationships, and has helped the grieving process. But I think it's a continual thing, and that's kind of where I've just recently shifted my mind to.
Yeah, I've said it before on the podcast, but it's definitely it's not something that gets easier.
No, it's not.
You just become stronger.
Correct.
And that's a good point to make.
Yeah.
But okay, we're coming up on our time crunch. I know we got some things going on very soon. So always end the show. I know you've been listening to it.
Yep.
What is let's say, just what comes to mind when I say what kind of advice would you give a little Ness? Like little Ness in high school. She's playing basketball. She's playing sports. She's doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
Let's say freshman in high school. What kind of advice would you give this person?
I would say too many people doubt their beliefs and then believe their doubts. That's kind of like a thing that I've attached on to lately. And what I mean by that is like I came from a family who had very definitive values. We were raised definitely a certain type of way within our faith, within our family structure, and all of that. And too often it's like I feel like obviously yes, become who you are, choose who you want to believe in, but I feel like so many people teeter on that. And when I was definitely my transition from high school to college, I did a little bit that I almost lost myself rather than trying, like I thought I was finding myself, but I was really losing myself because I just kind of had lost that mindset of like, this is who I am, this is what I believe in, be proud of it. You know what I mean? So I think I would tell my younger self that in terms of whether it was discipline with basketball, whether it is certain friendships that I had, family relationships, all of that. I think it could be applied in all of those ways.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it was awesome having you on. I'm glad you weren't too nervous to come on. Hop in a cold tub with me, hold a chicken. She held a chicken for the first time today.
I did.
No, but really appreciate you coming on. Had fun working out with you, and I'm sure I'm going to see you tomorrow to work out.
I was going to say, yeah, see you tomorrow morning.
Yeah, see you tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Ha 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 ha!